My fucking Marty, bro. As soon as I empty his litter, he goes and takes a fucking fat shit in it again.
This is like the third episode that he's taken a shit in the middle of
Always.
us recording.
No, it's always right at the beginning. It's crazy. Like, dude, I just cleaned it.
That's wild,
I
bro.
got to teach him how to use the toilet.
Can they do that?
I've seen videos.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a cinematic odyssey through the 100 greatest films spanning from the roaring 1920s to the cutting-edge masterpieces of 2024. Carefully curated from the lovely people on Letterboxd. Two intrepid souls embark on a journey through a treasure trove of timeless classics and groundbreaking contemporary works, where each frame embodies the enduring magic of the silver screen. Grab your popcorn and join us on this epic expedition through a century of cinematic excellence, where every film promises to enchant, inspire, and leave an indelible mark on the soul. And now, for your listening pleasure, here are the LetterBros.
Welcome, everybody, to the newest episode of LetterBros, where we let a wheel decide our fate and what movie we will watch next based off the top 100 movies on Letterboxd. And after a 1-week hiatus, I am Felix, and that is Parker. How are we doing
We're
today,
back.
buddy?
We're back. I'm feeling fresh and rejuvenated after our 1 week hibernation. You and I have both been sleeping since the last time we recorded. So it's nice to be awake again and talking about this new movie that we watched unconsciously.
Hold on, you're kind of unconsciously. We love that.
How are you
Well,
doing,
yeah.
Felix?
I'm doing good. Just moved. So that was partially of why we took a hiatus, because it was a little crazy over here on the other side of town. But we're
The other
here.
side of
We're
the
back.
country.
We're
Oh, on the
here
other
with
side of
you.
town for you, yeah.
I mean, you were also out of town.
Yeah, in your town.
Yeah, in my town, but out of your town.
Yes, exactly.
Which we
But
love to see.
anyways, it is good to be back. It's nice to be talking about movies again. We still have a while to go. We've made a lot of progress though, and we're not stopping. We're not stopping. I mean, I think you and I have both fully already committed to seeing this through. So, what are we?
Lugging along, boy.
Did you determine is this 30 or 31 that
This
we're
is
on?
30.
Okay, our 31st episode because we had an introductory episode, but
Correct.
this was movie number 30.
Correct.
Wow.
So we are
Wow.
30% of the way there.
All right, and that 30% is 1950s All About Eve, directed by Joseph L. Mankiewicz. And All About Eve, it tells the story of, well, Eve Harrington, who's an ambitious young woman who is enamored by an aging Broadway star named Margot Channing. The relationship progresses from a mentorship kind of into a competition when Margot begins to feel threatened by the younger, cunning, and frankly more attractive Eve Harrington. As Eve begins to manipulate her way to success, Margot fights to stave off the young star and keep her own career afloat. And all the while, we have this array of tertiary characters who are kind of just trying to make the best of their careers given the circumstances surrounding Margot and Eve. You know, be it a director or a writer, often, someone who is involved romantically with one of our main characters. And there's a lot of different character relationships going on throughout the duration of this movie. Now, Felix, I know I've watched this far more recently than you have. You watched this a while ago. Did you revisit it since?
I did. I revisited it today
Nice.
before we recorded. So just to kind of get a refresher of it, I didn't watch
Did you watch
the
the whole thing?
entire.
Okay.
I didn't watch the whole thing the second time. Was just kind of to just get a little bit of so get it a little bit of a refresh of the movie, because I mean I watched it immediately after we recorded our Two Towers episode, which was about 2 weeks ago. So it's been a while, but it was the only thing I found interesting on a second watch though was the beginning, because when I first watched this, the beginning to me felt very boring. It was just a lot of talking, a lot of just like introduction to like who these people are, who I necessarily don't care about in that very moment. But after watching the movie and then going back into it, you just like all of the looks on their faces make sense now, that they're all staring daggers at Eve Harrington as she's receiving this like prestigious award. But then you also kind of get backstory into how Eve is feeling in that moment in time, where she's, kind of caught in this situation that she's in with Addison DeWitt, where,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how much of the plot you want to give away right at the beginning of the episode, but
Might as well go for all of it. I mean, we're going to
so,
talk about it. But
I mean, so there's a big twist, as we've always seen with these 50s movies. We've seen it with Witness for the Prosecution, which I think
this did remind me of Witness for
was the
Prosecution.
better twist. It was
Well,
really
Witness for the
very like
Prosecution was like 15-1. I mean, it was unreal. I've never,
and done
I have
very
never seen
well.
anything like Witness for the Prosecution. This, I totally knew this was coming with All About
Yeah.
Eve, personally.
And it kind of sucked for me because I had to look at the cast to be like, I need to know who these people are. And then I saw that Ann Baxter had a dual role, and I was like, that's fucking weird. But then the twist happens, and we come to find out that Eve Harrington is not who she says she is. She's kind of like this doughy-eyed, like innocent, young budding actress just trying to make it out there in the world of the plays. And it's all bullshit. She tells this like heartfelt story of how like her family died in the war. Never
Her
happened.
husband,
Her
yeah. Or,
husband, sorry.
yeah, Eddie.
And come to find out, Addison DeWitt, played by George Sanders, who won an Academy Award for this role, for Best Supporting Actor. The only actor, by the way, to win an award for this movie. I think it was Betty Davis and Ann Baxter were both nominated, but didn't win.
I thought they both were great.
They were amazing. They were the best parts of the movie, but we now see that she's kind of caught in this like sort of blackmail with DeWitt, where he has figured out everything that's been going on with her, and she doesn't want anybody to know, and he's like pretty much got her under his thumb. So now she's receiving this award, but we see after she's received it that she's kind of like a shell of her former self. Like she's kind of just showing out for the people, and then behind closed doors she's kind of just like under the control of Addison DeWitt, who again has a history of playing villains. He also played Shere Khan in the Jungle Book.
Bravo, bravo. An extraordinary performance. And thank you for detaining my victim.
Super great villain. So it was really nice to see him in like an actual like live action acting role, and just pretty much playing the same piece of shit he was playing in the Jungle Book. So
What was that noise?
It was my microphone stand. I had to move something.
Oh.
But what I will also give props to this movie for is the screenplay. The writing in this movie is just, it's amazing. It's also written by Mankiewicz, who also directed the film. So I'm definitely giving credit there. This also won Best Screenplay at the Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Screenplay.
Wow.
So this thing was cleaning house, except for the two lead actresses. That was a steal. That should have been given to him.
Yeah, I will say I feel the conversation between all the characters, I was engaged the whole time. I was very interested in what they had to say to one another, because the screenplay does a very good job of kind of cluing you in just enough as to how everybody feels about each other without telling you outright. So the whole time you're kind of guessing, like, what is everybody's intention here, and that keeps it fun. It keeps it entertaining, because you don't know outright why what is being said, and it makes it fun. It's almost like a mystery of sorts, though. I didn't think that there was a whole lot, like I said, I kind of figured that Eve Harrington was making some stuff up as soon as Addison asks her, like, what was your husband's name? Right. And he kind of clues in that he's investigating like what her background is. I'm like, okay, yeah, she's definitely been bullshitting this whole time. But it also, the way that she's written to be so charming and manipulative is really well done. And Baxter does a great job of rolling with it and playing that, like you said, doughy-eyed, like kind of, not to say like dumb blonde, but like blonde from humble roots who doesn't know any better and still so naive and green. She does a really great job of embodying that, but still letting you know as the audience that like deep down, she's actually cold and calculated and knows what she's doing, and she's just manipulating everyone from the jump. So it's fun to watch over time. There's a lot of progression in this movie, which I appreciate. We've definitely had some films that feel as though you only moved a couple of inches between the 2.5 hour runtime. And I feel like we traveled miles here when it comes to our characters.
Exactly. And I mean, there's a lot of like good quotes that I got from this movie. Specifically, there's one and it's funny because before recording, Parker mentioned that this was sort of like a biblical movie, which
I
I
was
did
just
not
messing
pick.
with you. I was just messing with you.
Okay, I was
Yeah,
just,
it was a
but
joke.
but funny enough that you said that because during my rewatch, I think I watched up until like maybe like actually, you know what? I will tell you exactly when. When I stopped watching it the second time was when Margot asks Birdie if she likes Eve, and she says, "Do you want an honest answer or an argument?" And she says, "Honest answer, no. Why?" Well, now you want an argument. And then that's when I stopped watching the movie because I had to go and grab something to eat. So that's one line that I thought was really good. Birdie is so funny. The housemaid. She also has another line. It's after Eve pretty much is like, "You didn't notice my interior decorating. I made these new curtains for you." And Birdie goes, "Well, you made everything in here except a basketball hoop." And
Yeah, yeah.
it was really good. But going into the topic of religion, as Margot and her husband Bill are walking towards the airplane because Bill's going to go to Hollywood, she starts talking about like the world of theater, and she says all the religions in the world rolled into one, and we're gods and goddesses to these people. So I thought that was a very interesting thing to point out when you said biblical, and they see themselves as like these kind of heads of like they're kind of deities, and Eve very much sees Margot like that. It's kind of like this pinnacle, like this
Yeah,
goddess almost to her.
I could be wrong, but I think Margot says that again later in the movie too. But
Re-
she says it like in a different context. I think directly pertaining to Eve. So it's interesting to have it revisited like that. Shoot, and then now I forgot exactly what I was going to say following that. But
we were going to talk about how freaking gorgeous Celeste Holm is in this movie.
who
Is
does
what we
she
were going
play?
to say. She plays
I
Karen
already know. I
Richards,
already
the
know.
wife of the dude.
Oh, not who I thought you were talking about.
No,
I
Karen
thought.
Richards.
Oh fuck! Yeah, that was Marilyn Monroe. I was like, damn,
And
like that.
also Marilyn Monroe.
I
Yes,
was
she
gonna say, like, damn, dude, she looks just like Marilyn Monroe. It fucking is
That's
Marilyn.
literally my first note is I was like, is that Marilyn Monroe?
That's crazy, dude. I don't think I've ever seen Marilyn Monroe just like in a movie before. As
No,
crazy as
and
that
funny
sounds.
enough that like this was like a very young Marilyn Monroe where
Yeah, yeah.
she hadn't hit it big just yet, but this is like one of her first roles. And I mean
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
she's very charming in the movie, but then obviously like she'll go on to like do much bigger and better
Yeah. Yeah.
things. Dude, yeah,
That's
very
crazy.
young Marilyn Monroe, but Celeste Holm to me was just like pure eye candy. Like she's so charming. She
Oh, that's
has like
funny. I
some of the
completely
best
disagree
lines
with
in the
you.
movie, and oh my god, she's so pretty.
I disagree with you there, buddy.
What?
Like, not like in a mean way. I just like, yeah.
Damn. Well,
But yeah,
you
there's a
can't
lot.
argue with her because she died in 2012.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I love her character. I think her character, as are all of our main characters, honestly, like they're all pretty interesting, except for what's his name, Max. Yeah,
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
Max
Max
is funny.
Fabian.
Like he's a funny addition to the cast, but like didn't really see his character as having much of a progression throughout the film. But Karen's character is so. I mean, she's the one that introduces Eve to Margot in the first place. So at the end of the day, I mean, I'm sure that she is seeing herself as guilty, having played a part in Eve's manipulations.
Sorry, that just made me
Even
think of that scene when they meet for the first time, and she's like, "Oh, I normally see her out in the front of the theater," and she's walking down the hallway, and she just goes, "Karen," and it cuts to her in like this fucking dark ass corner.
Mrs. Richards. There you are.
Then I only noticed that on the second watch. I was like, "Yeah, that's scary." She's just like hiding out in this little like alleyway. Like,
yeah, I don't even remember that, honestly.
it was really funny. I'll put it up here. But another thing that I have to commend is just like they did so well. Was the chemistry between Betty Davis and Gary Merrill, who played Bill Sampson, her husband.
Oh yeah.
their chemistry was so infectious, and I figured out
Yeah.
that like they ended up getting married after this movie was filmed.
Oh wow. Yeah, they really did have great chemistry.
Yeah, and like the
They
way that
they,
like
they did a
he's
really
like
good
there to
job of
protect
doing
her.
that.
Like, yes, Margot is not the best person in the world. She kind of
Yeah,
like thinks
yeah.
of herself in all of this glory, but he's always there to defend her, no matter
And
what.
at the same time, dude, I mean, is it Bet or Betty? Do you
Betty.
know for certain? Okay, Betty Davis does such a good job as staying grounded in the character, because there are times where her character definitely pushes, where all the characters kind of push into the territory of I don't like these characters, but they're all written and all portrayed in a way that kept them likable on the whole, like just enough for the movie to be enjoyable. Like the line was really towed here, because sometimes films, especially films like this, can get to the point where I just don't like the characters, and therefore like I'm pretty much uninterested in what it is that they do. And the whole time here, I really thought that they all stayed grounded to the point where I wasn't watching a caricature of anyone, which is kind of how I felt when we were watching Sunset Boulevard. Like Norma Desmond is a caricature of that type of individual. Here,
Yeah.
Bette Davis as Margot stays within reality the whole time. She can always kind of be reeled back, and a lot of that did have to do with their chemistry. And I told you I went to see most of Black Bag except for like the 15-20 minutes I fell asleep for. And it's kind of like that same relationship. Obviously these movies are made 73 years or 75 years apart, but it's that type of couple where they're just such a powerhouse like movie couple where they both go about their business and do their own important things, but at the end of the day love each other, like despite everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it first. I mean, it was really well done. So crazy to see that they got married.
What else she does very well is play drunk.
Yeah, yeah, I
Like
agree.
like she does a very good drunk, like especially when she's at like her house party and she's like I heard it somewhere where it's like, and you can obviously tell me if I'm wrong here because you're the actor. But that the best way to play drunk is not to be a
Sober.
person pretending to be drunk. It's a drunk person pretending to be like sober.
Yeah, yeah. No, exactly. It's to
And I
try
think
and
she
not
does
be
that
drunk.
very well.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And that whole sequence, I mean, her party for her husband's birthday. I mean, it's just such an iconic sequence in the movie. And obviously like the quote, like
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
to lead us into that party was really good. I will say I do have issues with this film.
Yeah.
Is there anything that sticks out in your mind in terms of issues that you want to talk about? For one, I think that it definitely it drags at some points.
It does,
in my
yes. That's where I say that like I had some of my qualms with the movie, and I'm actually like in the middle of changing my score right now. But I also just had an issue with just Gregory Radoff's character, like Max Fabian. Like I could not buy into his character. Like it just sounded like
Okay.
this funny European or sort of Eastern European accent that I just couldn't really get a grip on. Like I really just
Okay.
couldn't like
I
buy
thought it
that
was
this
fun.
character was an actual person in this movie. Why? What did you think?
For one, I did not like the ending whatsoever with Phoebe.
Oh, really?
With Phoebe, yeah. I thought it was so
Oh,
stupid.
I even forgot that she existed, honestly.
Exactly. I thought it was tragic that we end this whole film about Margot and Eve, and the movie ends on some random bitch named Phoebe that we met 2 minutes ago.
That's like, oh, well, now
basically
she's going to
becoming the
get her
new Phoebe.
comeuppance. Like,
Yeah, like I did not like that whatsoever.
yeah,
Uh,
I'll agree
and
with you on
also
that.
like I said, I do think that at times, like the way that Eve, I don't know, it was good. She did a really good job of being manipulated. That's not a con, or being
Yeah.
manipulative. It's not a con whatsoever. Other
I
than
think we
the
had such
ending
a
and
strong like core cast that like now that you introduce this random person at the very end, it's kind of like
right,
a
exactly.
who the hell is this person? And now there's like 10 minutes left in the movie and now it's over and you're like, it just made no sense at all. Well, if you're comfortable, I think the film can be better discussed as we go and dive into our rankings a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Let's do it.
Let's fucking do it. But yeah, so for enjoyability and rewatchability, I mean, even trying to watch it a second time, I really couldn't get myself to. I still really enjoyed the movie, but I ended up giving this a 9 out of 15.
All right. Uh,
I mean, that's just where I feel comfortable. Like, even trying to watch it the second time, like, it's like, besides like the beginning, it was nice to kind of see like that, like, kind of come full circle and be like, yeah, like, I can see now that they're like staring daggers at this woman. But going through like the rest of the movie again, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really need to watch this a second time anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. I give it a 7 out of 15. Which 7 and 8 is where I like kind of fall around the halfway point, and I feel like this is just under the halfway point. I don't think I'd really be encouraged to sit through the whole movie again anytime soon, but I do think that in time, a rewatch would be moderately enjoyable, knowing what I know now about each of the characters.
Yeah.
But I feel pretty confident in saying that after I watched it a second time, I probably wouldn't watch it for a very long time again after that. However, I do think that the story is very well told and it's very well written, like we discussed, and for the most part, moves in a way that makes sense. I give it a 12 out of 15, just because it feels like a genuine, like, these are real people. Despite like, there's a lot of melodrama in this film. Like, don't get me wrong. There are points where characters act in a way that is irrational, but every movie needs that. And I think that they do it in a way that is mostly plausible. And that's credit to the writing, to the performances, to the chemistry between the actors, and probably a myriad of other things. But it's not quite to 13, 14, 15 category, area for me. What about for you?
Yeah, I ended up giving it a 13 out of 15. Again, the dialogue for me is very tight. It's very witty. It's funny. There's just some story elements, but mainly the ending and just some of the things that Max Fabian says. I'm just like, this is not a real person. This is not a real situation. But like everything else that we get with like the core cast of characters, they're infectious. Like, guys,
Mhm.
even the poster includes all 6 of them. They have like a lot of pictures with all of them together, and they look like a solid group of friends just outside of the scope of the movie. And I really enjoyed any time any of them were on screen, especially Celeste Holmes. Every time she was on screen, I was just like glued to the screen. She was so great. I love her. Rest in peace. Lasting impression, I ended up giving this an 11 out of 15. I wouldn't say that this movie had like such a big, obviously it's had an impression on Hollywood. It's a classic for a reason, and it always has been. I feel like that's the thing we're going to run into with all of these movies. But for me personally, I mean, besides like the script, which is great, the performances besides Gregory Radoff are fantastic. There's just not a lot more that are going to make me think about this movie for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I give it a 10. You pretty much said it. It's just like, this is definitely like a vibes like category. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard to really verbalize your feeling. All I can say is, like, just feels like a 10 in terms of lasting impression for a movie that I saw a day ago. For visual and auditory appeal, I thought it was good, but this is definitely not a visual and auditory type of experience movie for me. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was good.
I ended up giving it the same score. I gave it a 7 out of 10. This movie is the blocking is really nice. Like it was written, it's like a short story. I forget
Yeah,
who wrote
something
it.
something Eve.
Yeah. It was like The
Think about Eve.
Wisdom of Eve is the
Yeah.
name of the short story, but I honestly thought that this was adapted from a screenplay, like for a play, because it said like written for the screen and directed by Mankiewicz.
Right.
So, I mean, with the blocking and everything, it literally looked like you were watching a stage play, which was nice. But
Mhm.
the other part of that score we have to give to is the score, which I couldn't tell you what was going on with that score.
Yeah. It was like, I don't even remember a
I
score, honestly.
I don't,
Do you?
and
Like,
and
unfortunately, I know that I saw that there's a composer for it.
sorry to Alfred Newman. You
Yeah.
did great, but I can't remember what you did.
And you know what? That's not always a bad thing. It's not like I was sitting there thinking, "Oh my god, like the score is so offbeat emotionally with what's happening." Like it didn't make itself known. And sometimes that's fine. That's
No,
fine.
it's not like how you felt with Sancho the Bailiff's score.
Don't
You just
remember.
well, no, you just straight up didn't like it. Like it wasn't even like forgettable. You were like, dude, this thing hurts my ears to listen to. So better than that, definitely. For pacing, I gave this a 7 out of 10. For the most part, the movie does pace very well, and it's all in part to the characters' portrayals or the actors' like portrayals on screen. They're infectious and they glue you to the screen. But there are some other times when there's not really anything going on that I kind of just check out and I just like start being on my phone for a second.
Yeah, there were definitely times where I wasn't like I wasn't on my phone per se, but like there were moments where I was watching this movie not tired whatsoever, and I would like doze off a little bit, and I'm just like, shit, okay. And it's usually just like I know for example, there's one where Margot and Karen are in a car, and it's right after Karen has like unloaded the gas, and like they're on their way to the train station, right? And they're just like,
Diabolical shit, dude.
yeah, and they were talking like obviously it's a good scene, is important, but like it parts of it were just like I don't know. I was just zoning out a little bit.
I kind of
Um,
felt that when the when the husband's like, "It's only 3 miles. I'll just start walking," and I'm like, "All right, here we go."
yeah, but I gave it a 6 out of 10 for acting. I want to give it a 10. I I need you to convince me otherwise because I know you're not
I
going
will
to give it
not
a
be
10.
able to because
Well,
I did not
I
give
know
it.
because it's because of Max, but I I genuinely never thought anything poor of that performance. I thought it was perfectly adequate in terms of what was going on in the movie. Like it was funny. It added a little bit of weirdness to the cast of people who are always being so serious. So I thought it was perfectly well placed. I and you have like Marilyn Monroe just making a fucking cameo and killing it. Like everyone in this
That's
movie
fair.
is on point. And I think that you know what? Like there are a couple of moments in the performances of Margot and Eve that maybe are just a little bit heavy-handed in terms of on Margot's side, the melodrama and the hyper dramatic side of things. But it's so well placed because those type of people are like that and are melodramatic. And then on Eve's end, I think that there are a couple of scenes in which she turns the I'm clearly being manipulative when she turns it up just a little bit too much to the point where it's not charming anymore. And that's the only reason. But I really think that that would only bring me down to like a 9.3. Like, and at that
Fair.
point, do I round down? I need to hear your take.
I mean, I was gonna go in the direction of like I wouldn't want to give this a 10 until I thought that every single performance in the movie did justice. But I mean, to your point, like Max is kind of goofy and it's like kind of weird that he has like this little accent, but I feel like it adds to the charm of the movie. And like I want to give it a 10 as well, just because of how well portrayed all the other pieces of this performance or of this film are.
Genuinely. I
Yeah,
mean, everyone in this movie is on fire. I mean,
I'll
we
stick
have
with
okay,
you. I'll I'll
huh?
I'll I'll give it a 10.
Oh, well, I didn't even know if I was out of 10 yet, but
But I
all
think
right.
so.
Yeah,
I mean, like
I
if
think we
we
should ride it. Like everyone, I'm looking at the cast right now from Thelma Ritter as Birdie, Celeste
classic.
Holm, who you loved. I mean, Bette Davis and Ann Baxter were both great leads.
Yeah.
Marilyn fucking Monroe, bro. I can't believe that's actually her. Dude,
Yeah.
she genuinely was gorgeous. Holy shit. Like I didn't even recognize her as Marilyn Monroe though. You know what I mean?
You were just like, who's this like stunningly beautiful woman in the
For real.
1950s?
Well, dude, we're watching all these 50s movies and like am I crazy? Like I don't
No,
know.
I think so.
Everyone everyone like everyone is just attractive. I think that's before the time where all of the shit in our food is caught up with how we look. You know what I mean? Like,
They hadn't
fuck.
gotten the preservatives yet.
Yeah, all the plastics in our blood. I give
For
it a
real.
10, bro. 10's
Hell
all across
yeah.
the board.
Let's
I'm
do
happy to
it.
say that All About Eve genuinely feels up there with Scenes from a Marriage in terms of films I can point to and be like, everyone fucking kills it in that movie. Like, actors should watch the movie. Plus, it's about acting, which is cool to see. Like, well,
Yeah.
it's not really like about like acting in a
No, but
weird
it's
way. It's like,
honestly, and it's a note I have in here, and it's the themes that they're sticking with women in acting, and how like they have to
yeah,
climb this
yeah.
huge ladder to get to where they need to go in a movie in the 1950s is crazy.
Yeah,
So
75 years ago, dude. And we're seeing films come out like The Substance that are still exploring those timeless themes, which is sad in
it's
a way.
still a theme. It's still
Yeah.
something that's going on 75 years later, which is crazy. But I agree with you there. Like I said, 10 out of 10. I'm sold. Suspension of disbelief. I gave this an 8 out of 10. Like again, these characters do feel real for the most part. There are those moments where, like you said, that Ann Baxter kind of turns it up just a little bit too much to where it's like kind of coming off as a caricature. Max Fabian is a fucking caricature.
But it's well placed. Like, that's my
But it is
argument.
well placed. Yes, I agree with you there. But that's where I leave it at. Just like some of the decisions made, and specifically like when she is found out by Addison DeWitt, and she's just
So dramatic.
just no.
It's so 50s.
It's very 50s and it's really funny, but it kind of took me out of it. But it's hilarious. But what did you give it?
I give it a 9. I felt like everything was pretty well justified through the way that the film explained itself as the plot continued.
Fair enough.
For
Originality.
originality, I don't know where to stand on this. It's a tough one. I could give it an 8 or a 9. I'll err on the side of 8 for now. I don't really
Okay.
have a take on it.
I mean, I gave it a 9 just because they like the themes explored in this movie, the performances, and the writing for a movie made 75 years ago. It's very intriguing and it's very charming. We see a lot of these
Yeah.
50s movies kind of blend together at a certain point, but I feel like this one kind of stands out. I thought when we first got this movie, we were going to get another Sunset Boulevard. It's going to be
Yeah,
another
it's very much
melodramatic sort of
this is
like,
way better.
yeah. And
I give it a 9. I give it a 9. It felt very contemporary for a film made 75 years ago.
It did.
Really crazy stuff.
Yeah, like there's still jokes that hit. Like when Birdie speaks, like it's still funny. When, and when Betty Davis is like, being melodramatic and all of that, it's still compelling and it's still funny. Like there's things that still work 75 years later. Who would have thought? With Detachment, I gave it a 3. Again, I really did like this movie. It's not up there with a 4 and a 5 for me, but that's where I feel comfortable with it.
Agreed. I give it a 3. So
Kick ass.
That puts you at a 4-star movie with a score of 77 out of 100. Me at a 3.5 star, almost right there at 4-star with 73. Putting it at an average of 75. Where does that put it on the list, Felix?
It puts it right
75?
right above Sunset Boulevard.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Not even far above it. That's crazy.
Also
Below
came out in
Sancho.
1950.
Huh? Yeah,
They both came out in 1950.
I've got to say though, I do feel like I liked All About Eve quite a bit better than Sunset Boulevard.
Oh yeah, me too, honestly. Like there's one performance in Sunset Boulevard that sets it off, but like everything else is kind of throwaway. Everybody in this movie was acting their ass off.
Dude, we're getting to the point where people are going to be pissed about this list.
I mean, yeah, they already are. Like, did you see the comments for Woman in the Dunes?
It was probably Bryce.
Probably. But, this was our 30th movie, but it's time, as always, to dive into number 30
I'm excited. And that's why we're doing it, dude. It's fun putting this together. We definitely have all just the normal fun movies at the top. You know what I'm talking about?
Exactly. Yeah.
Empire,
they're like, where's
Lord
our
of the
contemporary? Where's our real Letterboxd top 4 movies? I'm like, Who gives a shit? This is our list.
Nah, no, I know. I think everyone's doing it in good fun.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it now. I'm like, oh shit! Like even now in retrospect, there are some movies that I feel have grown on me or lessened on me that we have at certain points in the list. So it's fun to see it progress as my feelings for the films change over time.
Exactly.
But we still got 70 more to go.
We sure do. I'm seeing Silence of the Lambs. I'm looking at Goodfellas. The Dark Knight, my wife started playing last night, and I was like, you got to stop it right there, buddy. It's on the list, and it could be pulled today. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'm just going to continue from where I left off last night. So are you ready,
We'll see.
Parker?
I'm ready.
Let's fucking do it. All right. Oh, shit. Here we go. Oh, boy. Looking at who? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
I don't know this movie.
Dude, what's this film about?
Nobody knows. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we pulled Nobody Knows from 2004. From when we pulled the list, it was at number 83. So now
I'm very curious.
I am too. I'm like, it's a very 2004. Yeah. So this is another foreign language film.
All right, we got a Japanese movie, right?
Yes. I don't want it. From the time we pulled it now, it has gone up significantly. It's now at number 71
with an average rating of 4.4 and 3.7 thousand fans.
Awesome.
One of the cast members is literally you.
You are in the movie.
Like YOU, all caps. That's crazy.
Click it. Let me see. Keiko or Yukiko. You, the film starring you.
That's funny.
That is funny.
All right, so what do we got, Felix?
We have 2004's Nobody Knows, a Japanese film directed by Hirokazu Koreeda. In a small Tokyo apartment, 12-year-old Akira must care for his younger siblings after their mother leaves them and shows no sign of returning.
Sounds interesting.
Sounds happy as hell.
Yeah, sounds like such a pleasant movie.
Sounds like such a pleasant little Japanese flick. But nice. Again, I really did like All About Eve. I'm glad that we were able to talk about it today, finally, after our hiatus. So, and I'm excited to see where Nobody Knows takes us for next week. But as always, Parker, where can people find you?
I'm on Letterboxd at Parker_Paget. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. What about you?
Same here. You can find me on Letterboxd at Ezio911, ETZIO911. Always follow LetterBros Pod on Always follow LetterBros on LetterBros Pod on Instagram just for any sort of updates or whatever I feel like doing that day. But as always, thanks again for watching LetterBros, and we will see you at the movies.
Wait, where?
Wait, what?
Where will they see us?
At the movies.
No.
Where will they see us? Nobody knows. Get out of here. Goodbye.